This is $200. Let's say I only had this amount to spend and I wanted to see the best possible college football game of the upcoming season. This is the top 10 best college football games you could go to if you wanted to spend $200 to do it. To start it all off, Georgia Tech. This is a Week 14 game, $191. Are you kidding me with that matchup from a season ago? 8 overtimes. It goes the distance. Georgia Tech leading by 17 at halftime. Haynes King playing at an incredibly high level. Carson Beck, like many of the games last year, struggled throughout the first half and then goes on to have a massive second half performance. Carson Beck's no longer the quarterback for the Dogs, and it's going to be Gunnar Stockton this year. Dylan Bell receiving. They need to have the receivers not drop the ball throughout this year, but this late Week 14 matchup between the two rivals is something that is well worth the price, especially if it's something like last year, and this is a very good Yellow Jackets team for Georgia Tech. At number 2, Clemson at South Carolina, Week 14. Let's keep with the later in the season games. $172. You can see Cade Klubnik. Is he in the running for the Heisman Trophy? At Lenora Sellers, is he in the running for the Heisman Trophy? For the most part, you would imagine that this could be deciding the season. Does Clemson go to the college football playoff? Do they go to the ACC championship game if they're able to come up with a win in this one? It won't matter, obviously, because it's non-conference. So will they be in the ACC championship game prior to this? But we know that there will be an impact on the college football playoff. Maybe if they lose this game, it's a win or die scenario for them in their ACC championship game. But anyway, on the road at Lenora Sellers, that place will be rocking. Dylan Stewart on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to have all kinds of motivations to go there for just $172. Cheapest ticket to get you in the stadium. Number 3, Garrett Nussmeier and the Tigers taking on Ole Miss and the Rebels. Week 5, $198. You get to see what Ole Miss has at quarterback in Austin Simmons, how this team is going to respond after falling apart at the end of last year. Harold Perkins is back for LSU, one of the more dynamic, versatile, explosive defensive players in college football. Of course, they return all of that talent receiving the ball for our star quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, obviously in conversations to be a top 5 NFL draft pick next year, to be a Heisman Trophy winner. To see that game early on in the season, $200, especially when Ole Miss, LSU, guarantee both of them will not be making the playoff. This is the type of game you have to win if you want positioning to get to the college football playoff. We know it'll be Texas, Bama, Georgia, who are going to be those spots at 4 and 5 in the SEC. Number 4, you cannot see a bigger game for cheap next year than $106 to see the defending national champions at the Illini. Ohio State at Illinois. Week 7, Illinois likely going to have one loss up to that point, and the Buckeyes, it's just going to be a matter of did they beat Texas in the first game of the season. So this matchup in Week 7, we get to see Julian Sayin, is he catching stride on that offensive side of the ball? What do the Buckeyes look like with their first-year starter? And Illinois, the defense is going to be playing well. Luke Altmaier, is he settling into himself? Is the progression there? Is he continuing to improve? But because we know Bielema will have that defense ready, what does Illinois look like on offense? How do they perform in earlier matchups in the season, like Indiana on the road, like hosting the USC Trojans, that one in the Big Ten? Illinois is not even a dark horse to make the college football playoff this year. A number of people are expecting it. They're going to be a top 15 team when the rankings come out to start the season. So they get to host the Buckeyes in their toughest game of the year. Even if they were to lose this one, they still have a path to be a 10-2 Big Ten and in that team for the college football playoff. Number 5 on this list, Texas Tech at Arizona State. I can't even believe the words are coming out of my mouth for this Week 8 game. $30, cheapest ticket to get in there. And it's not like it'll be 100 degrees like some of those games can be in Tempe, Arizona. These are two of the best teams in the Big 12. You would think the Big 12 can be a crapshoot when you try and predict that crazy conference, but Baron Morton is back as the starter for Texas Tech. He had played at a high level last year. Quentin Joyner in the backfield, of course, to take on, everyone knows, Sam Leavitt, and then Jordan Tyson back from injury a season ago. But this could very well be the two teams playing in the Big 12 championship game, or the loser would be out because they lose this game in Week 8. Number 6 on the list, the two teams squaring off in Florida. You got Florida and DJ Lagway going into Miami in Hard Rock Stadium, $192 to see them play. the Georgia transfer Carson Beck. We know how good Miami's offense was a season ago with Cam Ward. They lost Restrepo, the undrafted player, but what about some of the other younger talent that Miami has on that team? This is going to be a whole lot of offense. Huge question marks as far as the defense goes for both of these squads. We know what Florida has as far as what they will be with DJ Lagway. He's going to run the football very well. Can he limit the turnovers and be a bit more proficient throwing the football? But we'll see them play Miami. Of course, Florida's schedule is just ridiculous. They play about 6 tough games like playing Miami this year. This might even be the 5th hardest game that they have, as crazy as that is to say. Number 7, USC at Illinois. The second time you hear Illinois on this list. I know, crazy. Well, no, what else is crazy? $60 to see USC, the Trojans, play at Illinois. Guess what? They're both going to be undefeated going into this matchup. Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, the high-flying USC Trojans from a season ago with Jordan Mailata at quarterback. And the fundamentals of what we have here are a new Big Ten team in USC. This begins that tough stretch. The next week they play Michigan. The next week after that they have Notre Dame. This is going to determine what is USC. Are they still a team that loses to an Illinois? Or are they making the next step to be relevant? Haven't made the college football playoff. Haven't been even close to that since they were in that Big 12 title game they lost to Utah a few seasons ago with their inability to tackle anybody. USC at Illinois. It's a high-profile matchup, Week 5. Number 8 on this list, Sam Levitt and company, Week 7, $134, playing at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Devin Dampier for Utah. Under Kyle Whittingham, 47-14 the last 10 years at home. I love this coach, and that's a reason why I'm a bit more high up on Utah than other people are. He has been so good for such a long time. So very excited to see Arizona State and Utah, Week 7. If I could get out there to Utah, grab maybe some juice with some Mormons, have some fun, go see a college football game, and do it. Number 9, Clemson at Georgia Tech, Week 3, massive ACC showdown. Georgia Tech's not even a dark horse to get to the ACC title game or the college football playoff, in my opinion. They're a lot like Illinois, very soft schedule, except for 2 very tough games. Georgia Tech plays Clemson Week 3, at home for that matter, and then Georgia on a neutral site, which we talked about. Clemson, on the other hand, they play at Georgia Tech. They're going to be hosting LSU to start the year, and then at South Carolina. Tech's whole season could be right here if they want to get to the ACC champ game. Hosting Clemson, you want to see what they are with Brent Key. Is this a team under Haynes King that can be taking that next step? Again, we always talk about it. Can he, running the football, also produce enough offense for them to beat a high-profile defensive line? Peter Woods, TJ Parker, the best defensive line in college football, and, of course, Cade Klubnik throwing the football. He's pretty much a lock to go to New York at this point with the returning wide receivers. Later on in this, we have Alabama at South Carolina. Number 10, Ty Simpson hitting the road, $187 at Williams-Brice Stadium. We've talked about South Carolina so often, one of the most hyped up teams for this upcoming season. Why? Because Lenore Sellers. It all falls on there. We know what there is in the true sophomore in Dylan Stewart, how much talent he has, but it's on Lenore Sellers' shoulders. The 6'5", 240-pound athletic quarterback, they're relying on him to be able to take this team to another level. That South Carolina schedule is brutal, having to play Oklahoma the week before this, which made our honorable mentions. So Alabama, LT Overton, Caden Proctor, again, what will Alabama be next year? Are they going to be able to run the football better? Will the quarterback play be better without Jalen Milroe and his dynamic running ability? People are talking about throwing the ball to Ryan Williams 15 times a game next year and him being the second best wide receiver in college football. I think he can be exactly that. And Bama can be a 10-win team that gets to the SEC championship game and even win the SEC title, but needs to run through Ryan Williams, have to play very good defense, which you know they can, and Kalen DeBoer has to have the run game going to take the pressure off of them having to force feed the ball to Ryan Williams. That game, Week 9, $187 at South Carolina. Oklahoma at South Carolina. Again, Williams-Brice, $145. We get to see John Mateer, a dark horse, in my opinion, for the Heisman Trophy. The statistics he put up at Washington State for the Cougars a year ago were incredible. About 15 rushing touchdowns, 850 yards, 3,000 throwing the football. He is one of the more underrated players. Can they get Deion Burks going as far as a guy that we're waiting to see a bit more production out of? And we talked about South Carolina being a team a lot of people are talking a whole lot more, or we want to see it next year. Again, Oklahoma under Brent Venables is a roster that is going to have good defense. They're assuming that Mateer will be able to come in and elevate their play. Again, remember, Mateer had all of those stats, but that was against a much weaker level of play. What will he be able to do in the SEC, like an environment playing Michigan early in the year, playing at South Carolina in this matchup? Of course, they played Texas in Red River. It's tough, and that's exactly why. $145 to see that quality of matchup, especially if this is a bigger one. South Carolina, something like 5-2 heading into it. Maybe Oklahoma's 4-3, 5-2, depending on how they fare in some of those earlier games. But again, that looks like a great matchup overall. So thank you so much for watching this one all the way through. There are, of course, so many more great games that you could go to for under $200. These were a few that stuck out to me. So let me know in the comments what I got absolutely wrong. What's a game for you think under $200 to get into the stadium that would be a fun matchup to go to? Even paying a $200 plane ticket and going out there to see that game, spending $200 on beer and hot dogs to go see. This is the list that I came up with, that I researched, and thought that those would be the ones that I would go to. Obviously, the heavy emphasis on the Big Ten and SEC. Anyway, make sure to subscribe for more content coming out in the future, and I will see you next time. Appreciate you.